Hello, everybody. It is me, Pacific, on a Saturday night. Not coming from the garage because he's busy out there. I ripped up the rest of that four, the joists, which were 2x4s, the 1x4s, everything, and cleared it out. We'll show you that later. So, before I get going on my subject today, I decided that I'm going to pop some tags. Went to the thrift store and I found this really awesome Thailand shirt. Even though I haven't been to Thailand, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm all over it. Got that. And even though I think this guy makes too much money, he does have some good books. Landmines in the Path of the Believer by Charles Stanley, hardbound. J.I. Packer's Knowing God, subjects like, this is good stuff. I actually have the book, but it's in Washington, so I bought it again. The Majesty of God, God only wise, God unchanging, God's wisdom and ours. The Word is truth, the love of God, the grace of God, God the judge, the wrath of God, goodness and severity, the jealous God, sons of God. I mean, there's all different chapter headings in here on different stuff. These are good books. Then I found this leather-bound Evangelical Dictionary of Biblical Theology by Elwell, Baker House Publishing. Everything from A to Z on theology, and I got all this stuff, the shirt and everything, for $8 and some change. You go buy this new at a bookstore, you're looking at $30-40. What is the price on these units? I don't even know what that one is, but this one, okay, this is $9.99 US. Bottom line, Pacific made off like a pirate. Okay. The wheels in my mind keep on turning. Yeah, I know, I'm pirating a bit of a Journey phrase there for my benefit. When are American women objective when it comes to being divorced and women ganging up against the guy? And the answer is 99% of the time, no. Let me tell you something. Friday, I'm getting text campaigned by my ex. I left 3 voicemails saying I want to meet my son. And I brought up the other letter, and I brought up some things that she wasn't aware of. Said that my cousin has already talked to my mother about your fine performance with him on the phone and how you do not have relational skills and you were very immature and very childish. The reason I mention that, viewers, is because this is the woman who will not listen, wants to just blame me. She sent me a text Friday morning saying, I had an objective third party listen to your voicemails. I laughed. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my ex. I'm not doing this to get revenge on her. She doesn't watch my channel. Her friends don't watch my channel. I'm doing this because a lot of us men have been through marriages where the ex-wives have just torn us to shreds with all their female pack of wolves. Let me tell you about my ex-wife. In the 14 years I was married to her, she said this to me often. I tend to attract sociopathic women. I said, really? Let me tell you about a friend she had out of Dothan, Alabama. This woman really was psycho. When we got married, wife moved into my place down on Superior Street in Duluth. I was renting in a Victorian mansion. I couldn't believe how much stuff I had to stuff into my place. You all saw her messy room, right? She is a pack rat, just like her mother, a hoarder. I lived in a one-bedroom apartment, and my cute one-bedroom apartment furnished with the landlord's nice antiques and wrought iron bed. I had to get all her stuff out of there just to accommodate her stuff, and there was no room. My cute place suddenly became a warehouse. It was ridiculous. Friend from Alabama who lives in Denver calls. Yes, is so-and-so there, meaning my ex. Yes, just a minute. May I ask who's calling, please? You don't need to ask who's calling. I'm sorry, this is my apartment. This is the way I answer the phone. You're calling my phone, my place. I always ask who's calling. You don't need to do that. My name is so-and-so. Do not ask. I said, excuse me, ma'am, but this is my place. I handed her the phone and I looked at her. And after the call, I said, we need to have a talk. A week went by. The phone rang again. I didn't realize it was her the second time. And I said, yeah, sure. May I ask who's calling? She exploded. Didn't I tell you last time not to ask who this is? I said, ma'am, you are calling my house. That is rude. If you don't like to hear what I have to say, I'm married to her now. We're one. This is my house. Don't talk to me that way, ma'am. When my ex-wife felt that it was time to move to Denver in 1995, I was against it. She felt very strongly she could get back on with her old HMO haunt, medical facility. I said, okay, fine. She went out on a Greyhound bus. I kept driving the school bus where I was at, and she stayed with this friend from Dothan, Alabama. She wasn't there very long. She calls me one night, said, I started to write you a letter about how crazy this woman is. The woman accused her of washing her laundry and leaving it in the dryer wet, and then folding it wet, and it created mildew. At first, I thought, this woman's crazy. My wife wouldn't do that, right? Well, let me fast forward a bit. I was married to her, and I saw that, yeah, she does that. She'd fold stuff wet, throw it up on the shelves, and I said, hey, this stuff is wet. It's hot, it's sweating in here, and you're going to have a mildew problem. At the time, I didn't know that. She made the mistake, my ex, of writing me a letter telling me how psycho this woman was she was staying with. She left it on the nightstand by her bed in the spare bedroom. Friend comes in when ex-wife is at work, sees that, and went absolutely ballistic when my ex-wife got to her house that night. Stomped on her curling iron, yelled and screamed. My ex-wife wrote, there's cat feces all over the place, the house is a mess, she lives like a pig. Being newly married, I felt sorry. I said, you know what, why don't you call so-and-so, your other friend? She seems pretty even-keeled, and she offered you to stay with her. Why don't you take her up on that? She did. Then she had a problem with her. I saw that friend a couple months ago. She's very well-to-do. Her house is her almost $1 million townhome is extremely well organized, very clean, very nicely appointed. She treated me to lamb dinner. And though she is not the type of girl I'm looking for, she actually in many ways has her act together. That's one friend. When we lived in Virginia, Minnesota, she had a friend who was obese, divorced, ex-husband was violent, ex-husband was terrible, yada, yada, yada. The friend, when she was invited over for dinner, the first thing I noticed is she's really into herself, and I sat there being polite as a host, and this is my wife's friend. I don't have to get too emotional about it. I thought, boy, that woman drives me nuts. Then when I wrote a letter to the editor defending the competition coming to town, and that started a firestorm, the woman seemed to be okay. She actually defended me, said, I saw your letter, that's good stuff. This town needs a reality check. This woman, no guy wants to date her. Since I have divorced my wife, she has gained probably in the neighborhood of total weight 350 pounds. Is not attractive, is not pretty. When I divorced her, she was making comments to me and putting her nose where it didn't. I said, you know what? I divorced her. I have nothing to do with you. You need to stay out of this. When I was still living up there on the Iron Strange of Minnesota. This friend of hers went and adopted a Russian girl who was a total stuck-up snot with atrociously bad breath. The woman was so emotional, this friend of my ex-wife, that foreign exchange thing didn't work out too well. And but let's move on. Then there was a couple she became friends with, or the woman she became friends with, and I liked her at first. She seemed all right. They were in their 20s. She invited both of them to dinner. I didn't care for him. He was a cocky, shaved-headed white guy who thought he had the world by the huevos. They bought a piece of property up in Evergreen, overshot themselves, had a house built. 9/11 came down. He immediately lost his job. His job was connected with the trade towers in New York City. I called him to be a good Christian man and said, you know, dude, I'm really sorry. I will pray for you. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. He was pulling down good money. Month after month went by. He got no job. We had invited them over for some holiday. My then wife says, are they here yet? I said, yeah, I'm looking out the slider. I think they're having a fight in the Jeep. And I could see her yelling, and I could see, and they didn't see that I was like, oh, this is not going to be comfy. They came in the house and put on the game face. Finally, it was revealed to us later that she said, you take a job, whatever it is. They couldn't afford their apartment in Denver, so they needed to move to a lower rent place. The rent was close to $1,500 a month for an apartment. That was years ago. Then one day she comes and says, we want to get an apartment out in your area, but since I want to do medical billing, and then she was looking at something for $2,000, $3,000. I said, wait a minute, I thought you guys said you needed something affordable. Well, I know, but we have to be in a safe area because my medical billing clients will come in and, you know, they're not going to go for just... I said, but you can't afford that. You're starting a startup business. It may or may not take off. When this couple was over, I said, why didn't you guys just buy a starter home like most Americans do, fix it up, and move up? And they said, why do that when we can have our dream house? I said, well, you don't have it. You just bank foreclosed on it. Now you've moved out of your apartment. He doesn't have a job. And he was sitting there one day telling me, why do you got that 81 Chevy truck? Why do you got a piece of junk? I said, that truck is in great shape. I paid $3,000 cash for it. You're in debt on that Jeep out there, that Cherokee, right? Well, yeah, but it's great. It's all new. I said, dude, this guy would criticize the food my wife would fix. Boy, this is kind of dry. I really don't like this. One day I finally put my foot down and I said, you can invite her over, but I don't want that jerk in the house ever again. The kind of people she was friends with were cuckoo. They both moved back to Illinois to live with her parents. He got a job with American Express and couldn't turn a dime. And they left, and they said, oh, we'll be back, we'll buy our dream home. They're still not back in Colorado. Let's talk about candidate number 4. She's still friends with this gal. This gal came over to, when we were renting next door, came over, I met her. She was obese. She's the kind of woman I'd never befriend just because we're not birds of a feather. But I was polite. Hello, nice to meet you. When my wife and I had some sort of a disagreement, this friend of hers said, yeah, he seems pretty immature. How come you married somebody so much younger than you and he collects toy trucks and blah, 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 blah. I said, wow, she said all that? I said, have I ever done anything to her? well, I told her how hard you work and how you're a really good husband and all this. And I said, oh, that soured me on this woman. Then my wife at the time tells me this woman is on meds for bipolar and depression. This gets better. We moved to Minnesota. This woman calls. I get to talk to her. She seemed very Christian. And then she turns the other side. You know, I'm glad she has a good husband who's God-fearing and blah, blah, blah. And I talked to her and I said, well, she seems okay. I knew nothing about bipolar and depression. She would go like this and like this. Then my wife at the time informed me that her daughter is a prostitute. Her daughter has no respect for her. No man wants to date this woman either. Obese, a moody, emotional wreck. They work at the same place together. The next person works at the same place with her. Also overweight. I liked her. She seemed nice. Her husband molested 2 teenage girls while he was in a position of trust. Now, God is merciful. The 2 girls did lead him on. The reason I'm mentioning all this is that I could mention a host of others. That she even told me when I came out here from Hong Kong in 2012, yeah, I had to break friendship with this woman she met on the bus. The woman she met on the bus was a complete head case. And this was what would happen, viewers, every time my ex, when I was married, said, oh, I met this really wonderful woman at the mall. We're going to get together. I even invited her to dinner, and we're going to go to church together. And she'd never call her. She'd never reach out again. And then she'd tell me about all these new friends she made, and not 2 or 3 months would go by. She brought a girl over from work, divorced. The minute she came in the house, she had rank body odor. She was very arrogant, very disrespecting of me. I tried to be nice, and I thought, ugh, if I get past the smell and your ego, maybe we could have some sort of harmony here, but I don't know. The people that she works with. She was calling me on the phone and sending me texts from work one day. I didn't know she took her lunch hour. She was sending harassing texts last summer. I called the front desk and I said, I have a complaint. One of your employees is there at work texting me and harassing me. Oh, who is this? And I named. What I didn't know is she was friends with everybody at the front desk. My ex-wife got back to me and says, oh yeah, they told me that you said that I was taking my son and running off to California. I said, I never said that at all. I said, they said that? She goes, you're a liar. And then it dawned on me. Welcome to the world of American female wolves. When a woman is divorced from a man, she will go to every woman and tell them all kinds of crap, true and untrue, and they automatically believe it. And then they add lie and exaggeration upon lie and exaggeration. I asked, are American women objective? Oftentimes in the case of divorces and exes, when it comes to American women judging American men, no. I sat across from a woman just yesterday, Hispanic woman, and she said, I said, are you married? And she said, yes. I said, well, you don't have a ring. That's why I asked. And she goes, well, I'm married to a very self-centered, self-serving man. And our immediate reaction is, oh, you poor thing. But I've learned, I'm like, what does he have to say about her? Are women objective? Are the women that are connected with my now ex-wife, are they objective? Do they have degrees in counseling, human behavior, psychology? Now let me back up. My wife is 54 years, ex-wife is 54 years old, has a degree in psychology, paralegal, and has an LPN license. Way more credentials than I do. Her maturity level is even lower than myself. The other day when she was texting, I called and said, you need to stop. She didn't. And I thought, boy, this is just like the students on my bus when I tell them to stop and they refuse to stop. And I say, I'm going to write you up. Go ahead, I don't care. She was doing the same exact thing. And I had to change my phone number. That was the only way to end it. Change the phone number, don't even contact her anymore, and cut off that line of communication. She's done. But I thought about her friends. None of them have gotten any kind of degrees. None of them work with troubled children. None of them work with people. And if you notice something, all of these women, by the way, except for one of them or two of them, were obese. The one who wasn't, the one who was slender, she had mass BO. She thought it was okay to go 100 miles an hour across the Nevada desert, even though the speed limit was 65. And I said, you claim to be a Christian. I said, do you think that God wants you doing that? I really don't think God cares about me speeding on an open highway in the Nevada desert. I said, okay. But what if a car pulls out on a side road and because you're going so fast, you hit it? Of course. But let me say something. No one wants to date any of these women that I've mentioned. No one. There is no one actively pursuing any of these females. Why? None of them are pretty. None of them have good physique. None of them are in shape. None of them have heart, soul, or passion. They're boring. They're shopaholics. They're on medications. They're just yucky inside and out. Do you ever notice, viewers, I wrote some notes, so forgive me. Do you ever notice how all U.S. women are self-appointed psychologists when it comes to analyzing us men? Have you noticed that? Get a bunch of women, well, he's bipolar, he's passive-aggressive. By the way, I wanted to share something with you. I have actually never met a bipolar man to date. But I'm hearing scores and scores of women are bipolar. It seems to me that females tend to get that more than males. I didn't look up the statistics, so I could be wrong. But I hear more of this in the female camp. When we were at McDonald's and Walmart Friday, or Thursday, she said, I quit the counseling because it's not doing our son any good. And I wanted to say, because he's not the one who needs it, you need it. She thinks because she's going to work every day and that he has a bedroom in her place and she gives him food, buys groceries for him, and often doesn't fix him meals at all, but goes to McDonald's or gives him a can of something for him to fix himself. She thinks she's an effective, wonderful, good parent. I had an objective third party listen to your voicemails and they say there's something wrong with you. An objective third party, if they listen to the voicemails, I was very specific. Have him meet me Friday at 5:30. I want to talk to my son. I want to get a gauge on where he's at with me. I want to hear if he has any anger issues or hurt issues with me. I want him to get them out so that I can establish some sort of a plan in helping him get on track. Any objective third party would have heard that and said, you know, he's asking for contact with his son. Why aren't you giving that to him? So, was this an objective third party? Of course not. Let me tell you about the one on medications for bipolar and depression whose daughter is a prostitute. She came in last summer and started yelling and cussing at my son. My son told me about it. I contacted my ex. I said, why are your friends parenting my child? Why are they yelling and cussing at him? They have no right to do that. That is my friend, and she has every right to stick up for me. I said, no, she does not. You need to be an example, and you need to be the mother, and you need to stop bringing your friends into this. All you're doing is making my son disrespect you more. When they finally got roped into counseling, my son brought all that up, and the counselor said, you must not bring the friends into this at all, ever. It is you, and it is specific. No one else. Ooh, good counselor. My son was there to hear that and told me that. Let's talk about the women in America that say they're professionals because they have degrees. The hoity-toity, stuck-up attitude. I want a man who has an education. Pacific does not have an education beyond high school. Wait a minute. But I have an education. My uncle said to me that I'm a student of people. I've had several viewers, including Indokita and others, say, you should be a sociologist. Now, I didn't say that about myself. They're saying it. Let me tell you what my ex-wife said when we were in Akron, Ohio. We had the troubled kid. She's the one that wanted us to take the job, and I said, I don't think we should do this. I said, you haven't worked with troubled kids, and you're going to find out when you have them in your house, you're going to have a hard time sleeping at night. This is what she told me after 6 months of being in Akron, Ohio, running a troubled youth home for a Christian organization that was fraught through with all kinds of hypocrisies and problems. She said, you're way better with the children than I am. Those kids respect you. They don't respect me. And I said, do you know why? Because you're contrived and fake. And kids can smell fake a mile away. And they will go after you with fangs. If my ex-wife was to get in the seat of a school bus on a junior high route for one day, they would chew her up and spit her out in less than 2 minutes. I had an objective third party listen to your voicemails. Why am I saying this? Because I'm touching on a nerve with many of the viewers that I have here. And I want to say something. I had some correspondence with a lady who's in her 20s on the other side of the Atlantic through some emails. And I'm finding that there's some 20-something-year-olds, whether it's Indokita or the lady across the Atlantic, they're smart. They're intelligent. And sorry, but they like my channel. And I've had some healthy, productive emails with them. And I thought, wow, God is raising up a righteous remnant from the 20-something-year-old camp. My friend from Cleveland called me today when I was in Walmart. And yes, other women heard what I said. I tried to go to an aisle where there wasn't people, and invariably women would walk down. One girl walked down with her shirt tied in a knot all the way up to here. And I just said to him, I said, because we were talking about, he said, I am having a hard time getting dates. He said, I won't even look at a white woman. They're so stuck up. White girl dressed like a whore walks by. And I said, you know what? American women dress like sluts. She whirled around. I pretended not to see her. I am guilty, viewers, of doing indirect preaching. Knowing they're not going to change, but at least it's like, you know, I have to be confronted with your slutty attire. You can be confronted with my speech on your slutty attire, even though it wasn't, I didn't say, hey, you're dressed like a slut. You just happen to hear my conversation. I'm guilty. I find myself speaking out more and more when I'm on the phone. And I try to get away from the bulk of the people, but if somebody inadvertently walks down the aisle, I'm not going to couch my words on the phone. And if they hear it, and I've had many people, women, turn around and give me the filthy eyeball. I just pretend I don't see them. I'm engrossed in the conversation. I'm like, gotcha. He and I both talked today that American women, they don't want to hear the truth. They think that they're experts when it comes to judging ex-spouses. Their friends get together with the woman they're friends with who just had a boo-boo from a bad marriage, and they become wolves. Oh, he's terrible, he's terrible. Not one of them has ever come to me and asked my side of the story. None of them lived in my house. None of them know anything. Objective third party. When you saw the pictures of her bedroom, when I was married to her, I built her a cedar walk-in closet, a huge closet, the size of a small room in Hong Kong, or a small room in a flat, not the cubicle rooms that they divvy them up to. She threw all her stuff in there, piled on the floor on the cement, spilling over there. There were 3 dressers in there, loaded with clothes. The clothesline was maxed out. The shelf above that, I counted one day she had, 130 sweaters, 33 pairs of shoes, And I stopped at that point. She would pile stuff all over the beautiful dining room table. We had a 1920s Jacobean dining room table with the matching chairs, very ornate, and she would pile her crapola on there. And I tried to be reasonable. It'd be there for a week. I said, could you please get that stuff off the table? It's really piling up, and it's an eyesore. We got that full view glass door. Everybody on the street can see all the, it's tacky. Yeah, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. Never did. So finally, I said, you're not moving the stuff. I'm just going to put it downstairs as neatly as I can somewhere. I started running out of room. I came down there one day and I'm like, if somebody threw a match in here, this place is going to burn for days. Just the closet. I said, you need to do something about this. This is not cool. You're going to have mildew. You've got all these clothes sitting on cement floor in a basement. You need to do something. She wouldn't. If it wasn't for me in the 14 years we were married, having control of certain things, I would have been buried by her mess. I had an objective third party listen to your voicemails and they think you're crazy. Pacific's crazy. He gets behind the wheel of a school bus every day, and even though I get mad at things, I keep my cool and I get through the day. And I manage the students, and I deal with the landmines of coworkers, and I deal with the landmines of going home in my truck with traffic. And I realize that though I'm not perfect, I think I'm pretty successful to get through all that. When I've actually matured enough that I'm sad that a student got kicked off because yesterday she seemed softened, because the day before I said, you know what, I have tried to be nice to you girls. I've never yelled at you, and you guys are not acting like ladies. Yesterday she sat behind me by herself and she seemed much more subdued, and I said, God, I prayed for her. I almost wish my Subaru didn't kick her off. It would have been nice to try to work with her. Years ago, I would have said, good, get her off of here. Since I left my ex in 2007, I have become deeper, more sensual, more passionate. I was so rigid when I was with her. I only listened to classical music. Classical meaning Tchaikovsky, Mozart, Debussy, Dvorak, Mendelssohn. That's all I would listen to. I refused to listen to secular rock. Well, it's funny. Classical music is secular too. I put that video together yesterday with the pictures of a room and the pictures of Hong Kong. And yes, that did drive me to it. I wanted to meet another white woman in the town I was in when I got on Mate 1. I didn't. But when I dealt with white women around the nation, I saw something emerge, and I was naive and stupid then, and I thought, boy, these girls aren't very nice. I had a black woman who was very pretty talk to me. She goes, so what do you do for a living? This was on Mate 1. I said, I drive a school bus. A school bus? And you want to date me? I was shocked. I didn't expect that. I didn't know in 2008 what I know now. I'm evolving. My knowledge is greater. I have changed. When I drove the bus and I was married to that ex, I was rattled every day. I was terrified of the junior high kids. I was stressed. I had a hard time sleeping. I was uptight. Not anymore. Oh, I get mad at traffic and student stuff, but you know what? And I still am nervous and insecure, but I do it. And now I find myself saying, give me the junior high routes. They're good for me. I need a challenge. I feel more comfortable with the junior high teenage kids than I do at church. And I'll tell you why. Yeah, some of them yell the F word and the N word and this and that, but at least they're being real. Go to the average evangelical church today, and it's a dog and pony show. I'm sick of it. Today I went to an establishment called Vitamin Cottage with the lady. She had to go get some tomato plants. White, tall, plain Jane, dowdy dressed women that think they're all that in a bag of chips running the register. I don't even look at them. We went to Lowe's. I saw the women in the flour, the women coming into customers to buy stuff. I had a heavy cart full of bags of manure. And I'm being polite, and I've got one narrow opening to get through, and you think that the women would move? They glare down on me. I'm thinking, I could take every one of these women physically, and I don't hit women. And I thought, they are so mean, so selfish. And I looked at every one of those women, dressed dowdy, all of them ugly, slender, or fat, boring Lakewood women, and I saw something that was common in every one of them. Lost, empty, miserable. I'm buying flowers, and I'm shopping, and I'm doing all this stuff to make me happy, and I'm miserable. It became clear today, that's all Americans are doing. Stuffing stuff in that hole. SUVs, another doggy, more gardening and more stuff, and I see them out there in public. They're not nice, they're not passionate, they're not sensual, there's no warmth, there's no vibrancy. And most American women today aren't saying, hey, stop, whoa, what's wrong? I received a couple of very nice emails from a viewer in Yugoslavia. She's a very nice woman. And it hit me again today. My social life is right here. Indokita, the few people I call, Cleveland, Detroit, Johnston City, Tennessee, Livingston, Texas, Brattleboro, Vermont, to name a few. Small town in Minnesota. I go out there, I walk around the lake today, and I watch woman after woman walking their dogs and talking baby talk to them. And when another woman comes up with a dog, it's almost like the two women, I'm sorry to be crude, but have an orgasm. Oh, isn't that cute? Oh. And you just go, you will never say hi to me or smile at me, but it's all about doggies. Dogs eat poop. Dogs throw up. And even though I like dogs, they're really disgusting animals. They're filthy. They're nasty, and I find it interesting that Americans practically worship, of all the creatures God made, dogs. What a sad commentary on our society. I've told my viewers this many times, I don't even look at women walking dogs. They're not going to say hi to me anyway. They're not interested in me. Most women in America that have dogs, whether they're older or 20-somethings, they're highly insecure. They don't have relational skills with men, so they become immature and stoop down to the level of an animal. I finally figured it out. It is a form of immaturity. Oh, I know I'm going to catch flack for this, but that is what I've seen. I'm not saying every woman that has a dog is immature. Some women have a dog and they keep it in perspective, but most don't. Most worship that dog. My friend from Cleveland today was telling me that now women are naming their SUVs names. And are women today in American culture objective? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Oh, they're empowered, they're enlightened, and they're full of arrogance and confidence. When we walked into Vitamin Cottage, there was the glossy-faced, young, big-boobed girl. Hi, how are you today? Would you like to try a free sample of coconut juice? No, thanks. Boom. Prison doors go across her face. You don't want my thing? I'm not nice anymore. Lady, you're not nice anyway. You're fake. As I was talking to my friend, I'm standing at Walmart. I finally found an aisle where there were no people. The fitness aisle. Why is that? because most people who go to Walmart aren't into fitness. Hello? I'm looking at the boxes of fitness hoops and the barbells in the boxes, and I look at the woman, you know, the plastic glossy face, the hard look, and I thought, who would want to date with any of the women on these boxes of this weight stuff? Fake, no warmth. And it just clicked to me today, and as I was talking to him, I said, our whole society has been advertised to be fake and superficial, not meaningful, not warm, not sensual. He watched one of my videos where I was on a IFC mall in Hong Kong with that beautiful, long, black-haired Filipina. He said, I have to say she was the best looking of all the women you dated over there. And I said, she was definitely a 10 to me. And he asked about her, you know, what? I told her how I met her. I met her at Video Geek. She wore a dress and boots. I've told all of you the story. She wore the boots to hide the scars from a guy tried to rape her as a kid in Bohol, and she jumped out the window and landed on 2 metal stakes in the yard that went right up through her. Right back here. Both sides. The Filipinas in the videoke would laugh behind her back. Yeah, she wears the boots. One day I said, do you know why she wears the boots, ladies? Let me tell you a story. They all put their hand over their mouth. Oh, I said, yeah. By the way, her boots are pretty and she dresses very nice. I don't see what the problem is. I said loud enough for the other women coming down the aisle to hear me. I said, you know what? To the friend I was talking to. I said, Edith was gorgeous. She was model material, in my opinion. She was 5'7". She was simple. She was humble. She didn't have any arrogance about her. I said, I come back here to Denver, Colorado with fat women, tattooed women, pierced nipples, pierced lips and noses. And the woman at the health food store, the tall white woman with the dinger in the nose, and I thought, there is a mentality that goes with all of that. They are unapproachable, biatchy, lesbian-y, feminist, men haters. And I said, Edith, I used to stroke her hair in videoke. She'd sit right next to me, and I would just feel her hair and massage her scalp and caress her and hold her. And I said, out of all the gals that I hung out with, I had a real deep affection for her. She had been wrongfully fired by a very mean Chinese woman. Wrongfully meaning she just up and fired her and didn't tell her. Said, I'm going to be on vacation, so you need to go out the place for a week. She kicks her out the place. She has no place to go and all her stuff stuck in there. And the woman didn't tell her, I've just fired you. I was living on Lantau Island, and I thought, dang, I just left my place in Causeway Bay. If I had still had that available, I would have said, you stay with me. Oh, yes, I can hear the Christians saying, that's wrong. Well, let me tell you what happened when she went to the shelter. The Filipinas got in her suitcase several times and robbed her of her cash, stole some of her shirts, and then one hit her in the face one day. It's like, whoa, I thought Filipinas were different. There was some ghetto trash Filipinas in Hong Kong, too. I hate to say this. Edith called me on the phone and said, what are you doing today? I said, well, I just got to Hong Kong off the ferry. I said, where are you? I need to get out of here, Michael. Can I be with you? Yes, where are you? I'll meet you. I'll meet you at Worldwide. I'm on the tram. I said, okay. We'd spend the day together. And because of my rental situation, I couldn't bring her out to Lantau. So we rented a room and just hung out. The room was like $20 for the day or whatever, and it'd be rainy, and there's nowhere to go. You sit in a restaurant or whatever, and you can only do so much of that. She told me stories of how she was put down, laughed at, mocked growing up, and I said, you are beautiful. Pacific comes back to the U.S., comes back to my place of employment, goes to this church just not too far down here on Sunday morning, gets out there in traffic, goes into the health food store, watches women in Walmart, and I go, wow. Edith and I made love several times, right or wrong. She trusted me. And her words to me, I feel comfortable with you because you accept me and you've never laughed. I said, how can I laugh? I said, your story is mine. I was made fun of for thick glasses, called retarded and nerd and geek and on and on. Then one day she suddenly had to go, and we kept in touch through Yahoo. And then her sister in the Philippines said, you don't have any money, and now you're going to be a drain on me. It's like, oh my gosh, that poor girl. Yes, I gave my heart to many women, folks. I know that. And I did it because I was thinking when I got in my truck today, I'm still bold. When I was at Walmart today and I wrapped up my phone call, checked out, decent looking white cashier, she said, you look like somebody I knew. I said, is that good or bad? She goes, oh, I'm sure it's good, but I can't place it. I said, well, thank you. I said, don't take this. I'm not being sleazy, but you're attractive. She goes, thank you. I don't know how to act around women here. I don't know how to be. So I am defensive, I'm guarded, and sometimes I'm offensive. Look at the case of Gypsy and all that crap that went on. Stuck up, conceited, and she wasn't even as pretty as Edith. She was good looking, but Edith was leaps and bounds ahead of her in my mind. When I got in my truck today, I said out loud to myself, I said, you know, I dated some beautiful women that freely gave me their love at the time. And I'm not talking the sex. Yes, there was lovemaking. But when I danced with Edith the first time, I met her and I liked her right away. She had that goofy cuteness about her. She came up and bumped into me, and I said, can I dance? She goes, I was hoping you'd ask. She slowed down. She put her arms around me and embraced me as tight. And I was like, what a loving sweetheart. And no, she wasn't a whore. She didn't do that with any of the other guys there, ever. She felt comfortable with me right away. Come back to the U.S. and I can't even get a date with a dog fat woman. I don't want one with them. And the good-looking women, I don't have a snowball's chance in hell of getting a date. I like it when I go to my bank today and it's a good-looking black woman. Hi, welcome to Wells Fargo. How are you today? And I'm polite because that's what they're supposed to do, but I'm like, you know, it's funny. They're taught to be nice. They're taught to be kind in there. And there's a lot of good-looking women at the bank I go to. And they almost act flirty, but I know better. They wouldn't go out with me. Of course, when I go do the transaction and some of them see what's in my bank account, I thought, I wonder what's going through their mind. Ooh, he's got money. Not really. The reality of what I talk about, what does this have to do with the objectivity of American women? It has everything to do with it. When my ex-wife, when every single one of her female friends, I found them to be offensive, rude, undisciplined in their own personal lives with their bodies, with their living habits. They were boring, they were dowdy, some of them were psychotic, and they're sitting there judging me. I believe that I can categorically take my arm across that desk of so-called evidence and go, trash can, invalid. Does it mean that somebody of that caliber can't make a right judgment? No, it doesn't. But we have to remember, when a woman's telling a story, women are also editors. They're not going to say the things they did, ever. They're usually going to lie, gloss over, exaggerate, and leave out all the junk they've done and go on, oh, I don't know how he did this to me. He was so awful. The part they left out is that she started the whole fight by yelling and screaming at him, and he reacted to that because he had a bad day at work. And I'm not talking about me. Case in point, I started judging the couple that the Filipino friend moved in with, and they were doing some things that to me were just not right. But then when he came up to me and said, yeah, there's men coming and going all hours late, does she have a boyfriend? What's going on? We're Christians. We don't feel comfortable with this. They had every right to feel uncomfortable with that. Now I don't even talk to or look at her at all. I'm learning. I'm done. Yes, I got this, but I worked for it. And this will always be special to me. I won't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Yes, it's her artwork and she did a good job. It really makes me mad, viewers, that through my channel, I've met a couple of women that, one in particular that you all know about, that I would, if I had millionaire status tomorrow, I wouldn't just call her. I'd just show up down there and call her and say, hey, what time you get out of class? I'm standing on the campus of your university and I've come to see you today. Another one of my viewers on the other side of the world. Pretty, intelligent, kind, God-fearing. How come I can't find that here in a city of 3 million people? I don't know. How come I have to be brought to trial by every girl that I even consider or want to date when it was in the past on profiles? And how is it that American women can be so rude and nasty to us men and then still have this mentality, you'll be lucky if I date you? I don't want to date you. You're rude. I thought it was funny that one of my viewers said, you're too old to fall in love. Are you serious? I don't believe you fall in love just to be semantical, but too old for love? There's a Greek word for that. It's called bull squat. American women are not psychologists. And I have a problem with psychologists anyway, not because they've psychoanalyzed me, but psychology is based on Freud and evolutionistic, humanistic teaching that doesn't square up with the Holy Bible. Psychology and pop psychology is found wanting. But let's use this for the sake of argument. All these women that judge us men are acting as if though they're experts in human relations and people and can make proper diagnosis. No, they can't. He has anger management issues. Yes, so do you, lady. I've seen you in traffic going like this when somebody honked at you because you cut them off. You need to be evaluated. I had to say this, folks, because my ex is not objective. Her friends are not objective. And I'm not just saying that to put the boot in. I'm a nice guy. I actually accept people that are different than me, even if they're not attractive and even if they are obese. But when they start being rude and they start causing damage and trouble and problems, even when I was married to her, she had a lot of friends harass her and cause trouble, and I had to step in and say, that's my wife, leave her alone, don't call this house again, thank you very much, click. I did the honorable thing. And that goes for any woman that I'm in love with. Even if she's in the wrong, you're not going to attack my woman. I'll say, yeah, I'll deal with her on that, but you need to get out of here. Then we get in the truck and we'll say, what'd you do that for? But my ex-wife is not objective. Her friends are not objective. They spin in a circle like a toilet bowl. Meds, depression, obesity, daughter's a prostitute, all of them divorced. And all of them will sit there and tell you, or the one whose husband molested the kids, she's still married to him. But all the rest are divorced. All of them. Oh, and except for the couple that moved back to Illinois to live with mommy and daddy because he thought he had the world by the balls and lost his $100K or $70,000 a year job. And, oh, I'm not worried about it. Yeah, you having fun living in mommy's bedroom? Of your wife's mommy's bedroom? Fun. All those other women are divorced. No man wants them. No man is pursuing them. And they think they're all that in a bag of chips. And they're going to come in and judge me and tell me I'm a bad father and I'm a this and that. What are they basing that on? They're basing that on her running back and lying. Does she go back and say, yeah, I've taken his phone away because I don't want him contacting him and I'm really keeping him from him because I don't want, my son has a bigger bond with him than he does with me and I don't want him near him because I'm insecure. Is she going to tell them that? Of course not. Since he's been back to Colorado, he doesn't even make any effort. Women don't listen to truth. Women love gossip and scoop and dirt. I've seen it at work. I've had women salivate like kids on a hot summer day when you hold up sherbet ice cream cones and go, when something has happened to me, everybody knows about the Filipina and all the guys coming over because she went and complained to everybody. And then they came to me, what's going on with you two? What's going on with you two? I said, you guys really want to know scoop, don't you? Yes, women love scoop. Even if it isn't true, when women are friends with another female, they cease to be objective in one fact alone. One fact alone overrides all of the above. Women are emotional more than logical. And if my name is Sally and I'm friends with Teresa, and Teresa's husband leaves, and Teresa comes to me, oh, he's such a jerk, he was so awful. I, as a woman, I'm Sally, and I'm going to go, oh, that's terrible, he's an idiot, he's a loser, he's no good. Something will not kick into Sally to say, hey, there's two sides to every story. This may be your friend, but you don't live with Teresa. Yeah, but she's my friend. She's godly. Godly at church on Sunday morning, dog and pony show. What is she like when the door's shut at her house? Oh, I wouldn't believe she'd do anything that's less than. No, you don't want to believe. Pacific is talking about this because it needs to be mentioned. A woman on medications is not objective, third party. And I have a feeling that that's the one that she's referring to. The one who yelled and cussed at my son and threatened him. And I thought, boy, if I'd have been there, I would have said, look, lady, you're overstepping your bounds. You have no authority here. You're done. One of the reasons Pacific puts no emphasis on a college degree is I've seen the way college degree professionals behave. My ex-wife, 14 years, demonstrated immaturity at a level that was beyond disgusting. We'd be making love, having sex. I never made love with her because I couldn't. And she'd go, and I said, you know what? That is a turnoff. You wouldn't even let me be myself. I said, when we first married, you said that you tried to do baby talk with your husband and he didn't put up with it? I said, I don't like it either. I don't like it. You're older than me. Why are you doing baby talk? She does not have the capacity to be sensual. When I've made love with a woman, my voice changes. I change. I'm not going to get too personal here for viewers, but when I made love with a woman, baby talk is not in my mind. No way. When we're talking about most women in America talking about their exes, 99.9% of the time, those women are going to paint a picture that is always designed to make them look like the victor and make him look like the loser. That is a fact. And some women can come on and go, well, you're doing that to her. I'm not doing that. She's doing that. If I was so terrible in the marriage as she stated, why is she still harassing me? Why, when she put her elbows on the table in 2007, when I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm divorcing you. I can't fake it. I don't love you. I'm dying in this marriage. She smiled from ear to ear and says, I think that would be best. I think that is wonderful because we bring out the worst in each other. And a week later, her own natural seeming bipolar kicks in. Can you live here at least until spring? And I toyed with the idea because I'm a reasonable man. Okay. I thought, wait a minute. No. If I want to date a girl, I'm not going to be comfortable bringing her down into my room in the basement. No. Then after, or just before, when she'd already gotten the attorney to file the paperwork, she goes, I think we should go to counseling. I said, what for? To change me or to change you? No, I'm not doing counseling. That was perfect for her. She ran back to the church. Yeah, he refused to go to counseling. Oh, now you got a free pass. You tried everything in your power to hold the marriage together and I was unwilling, so you're the godly Christian woman. You know, it took me a while to figure things out, viewers. That is what she did. A good friend that I had, who turned out to be a turd ball, called me and says, I heard you refused counseling. I said, I had been telling her we need to go to a counselor for years and she refused. I said, when I told her I'm divorcing her, she put her elbows on the table and said, I think that would be wonderful. After I had moved out of the house and she'd already gotten an attorney, she comes up with this counseling crap. And I'm thinking, I don't want to be in this marriage. I've already, in my heart, I'm divorced. I'm done. Viewers, I'm going to be honest. Even if she had completely changed at that point, I would have been like, this isn't going to last. It was not God's will for the two of us to be together. I know I said in the close of my video, I thank God for my ex. She drove her to Hong Kong. Some of that was tongue-in-cheek. I don't thank God for my ex. I don't. If I could go back and single-handedly change any decision, that would be one that I would change immediately. But I can't. When we're talking about women, we need to ask the following questions when we hear their story about their version of what happened with the ex. Number one, look at a woman and her friends. Look at the lifestyles, habits, attitudes, manners or lack of manners, and the way they drive and the way they behave. Look at that. That will tell you everything you need to know about the woman. Most women I know don't pick quality female friends. Most women pick superficial flakes, shopaholics, immature, loaded with addictions, meds, fat, overweight. You name it, you throw in anything you want. There are some women that I know that don't even have a lot of female friends because they said, I'm tired of American women. They're a pain in the butt. Back to me. I was with a variety of women in Hong Kong. And I said out loud, I said, it's amazing. In Hong Kong, I couldn't handle all the girls that were interested in me. I come back to the U.S. and nobody's beating the door down to be with me. Amazing. Why is that? Is it because, well, everybody knows you here and you're a loser? I'm a loser. I work. I have no debts. I've made mistakes. No. There's a woman still interested in me. She gave me a hard time the other day. How come you don't call me? And inside I'm going, I don't want to call you. You're the one that gave me the number. And I tossed it. She's obese. She's a white woman with 4 kids. She's nice. Even other people came up. Well, she's not ugly to look at. I said, dude, she's got double chins going on. She's very heavy. Look at me. I don't want 4 children that are still living at home. Somebody will say you're being picky. I'm being picky? I'm not asking for a woman with money. I'm not asking for a woman with a car and a college degree. Pacific chased a doggone domestic helper, overseas foreign worker. I'm not interested in status. I'm interested in this. Heart. And clearly, I'm reconfirmed every time I deal with my ex that that was a bad decision to marry her. American women are vengeful, and they keep it going and going and going. She judged the 2 people in this house and said, I don't want my son down there pulling weeds. They don't even go to church. You go to Rock and Roll for Jesus church. They're all a bunch of flakes down there. I've gone a couple times, and it is horrible. They're not friendly. They're immature. Yuppies in their SUVs that wear their shorts and walk in with their Starbucks, and they're going like this through the whole worship service. Yeah, man. They're not interested in doctrinal truth and changing and holiness. Neither is she. Judging people for not going to church that have actually cared about me, let me stay here. Yes, I do my share of work. They didn't have to do that. The Filipina, nobody's offering for her to stay anywhere for free. In fact, they're sticking it to her. And at first I got mad, and part of me says, wait a minute. This is only fair, Pacific. She's been screwing everybody over, including the woman that she was in love with. She came out to Colorado because she told me I thought she was going to treat me and take care of everything. In other words, let me be your queen bee. Yeah. When I look at what my ex did the other day, she knows as a bus driver there's huge liability on my head. She tells me how selfish I am and that I don't care for my son, which is all baseless. I'm at work and I'm getting text after text, criticizing me, all of it untrue, dogging me, everything, and I'm going, if this woman was so filled with the Holy Spirit and so Jesus-fied, man, this is amazing how loud this is. Sit on it, it's still loud. If she was really walking in the Spirit, she'd go, you know, he's got a bus to drive. He's responsible for lives and safety. This is not the time to do this to him. Do you think that she thinks that? No! Because she's got Jesus on her side. She's going to harass me in the name of Jesus. None of this has caused any benefit or reconciliation with the path my son is choosing to take. I was slow and I was naive. I bought into her whiny little note scrawled on an envelope. How tacky and unprofessional is that? She's a paralegal. Why don't you sign your name to it, sweet lips? And I addressed that in the voicemail. I said, you don't sign your name to stuff? I've showed this to people, and they said this is very immature. If your friends, and I said, you can play these voicemails for your friends. I want them to hear what I'm saying. If your friends can justify your immature behavior, then they are just as bad as you. I would stand up to any one of them, but I'm not going to because I have no interest in talking to them. They don't know me. They don't know the truth. They hear your line of baloney, spoon-fed to them. Of course they're going to take your side. But don't tell me they're objective. Create a drama, get me to respond to the drama, and then when I come, tell me how guilty I am and how I've wrecked my son, even though all this stuff that's happening to him, skipping school, doing drugs, shoplifting, has all been as a result of your ineffective, worthless, spoiled, rotten behavior towards him. That is not my fault. I know women that have had to raise their boys, and their boys grew up and didn't do any of that stuff. But when a woman sits there and says, I know, you can't help it because your dad left, he's so mean to you. That's called manipulating. That's called massaging. You know, and she even told me when we divorced, your son has more of a bond with you than he does with me. And I knew that. I didn't force that. It happened on its own. She resented that. And she's done everything in her power to reverse that. She couldn't change his opinion of me. So what she did is start massaging and manipulating and talking bad about me. It's the way the KGB operated when they interrogate people. Deprive you of food, punish you, yell at you, and repeat cycle over and over until you finally go, okay, I'm guilty. I didn't do it, but I'm guilty. There's been many forced confessions in the Soviet Union of people who didn't do a dang thing just for their tormentors to leave them alone. And that is exactly what has happened to my son. He knows that if he pulls the, I'm really angry because Dad isn't in my life. She goes, oh yes, it's okay, son. I know it's really hard. I'm not kidding. That's what she does. And internally as a teenager, he goes, good, I got away with that bad behavior. Now I can blame it on Pops. That's why he's not calling me. He's in an age now where he can manipulate things. When a woman sets an example of being a pig in her house and then yells at him about his messy bedroom, when that woman lies to my son, took $30,000 that was in his bank account for his name, a minor by me, a minor by her, and I made a mistake when I moved to Hong Kong. I signed it over to her. I never thought, even though I couldn't stand her and I had problems with her, I never thought she'd take that money, pull it out of his name and put it in her account. The only reason I found out that happened is I told my son, you know, you have $30,000 in the bank. I do? I said, yeah, I set up an account for you and I signed it over to your mother, but yes. I said, ask her about it. He did. Oh no, you don't have that money. That's in my bank account. It's not in yours, and you'll be lucky if you ever see it. He called me and told me. I called her and said, what did you do with that money? Oh, I thought you and Beth were going to get it. I said, me and Beth are going to rob my son's piggy bank. I said, you don't even know Beth. I said, or is it to support your shopping addiction? You're running out of funds, so now you're going to tap into his. Folks, the reason I'm making this video is because there's some stupid people, and I'm going to say it. Some stupid, uninformed people that are watching my channel saying, you talk about girls and you don't spend any time with your son. You uninformed people that are making your wag comments aren't getting it. You need to get him at all costs. Okay, let me ask you. She's had custody of him for years, and I'm going to go and suddenly fight that? I talked to a gentleman who spent $40,000 trying to get custody of his child from a deranged, twisted, messed up wife, and the judge wouldn't do it. He said, I finally had to stop. I was blowing all my money. I'm sorry, viewers, call me selfish. I'm not exhausting my bank account to get my son to live with me. Number one, he's at an age now where he could make that decision legally on his own. I think it's 14 or 15. And he could go and file something. I'm not going to force my son to live with me. Number one, she makes good money. Yes, she's causing damage. She's got primary custody, and she's made it clear, I will never release that. Never. That ought to tell you, viewers, something. She's ready for a fight at any time. Why am I going to fight that? Well, you should care about your son. The best thing I can do is pray that God in heaven intervenes and deals with the situation. Not me striving and fighting and going into court battle and then missing work and missing time and then find out I lose and then I pay all the attorney's fees. Are you stupid people? What good is all of that done? Yes, I'm tired of some of you wags, and if you can't get off of this, then get off my channel and go away. I'm tired of it. It's not that cut and dried. It's not a magical Disney kingdom. Go fight for your son. Get him back. Tell you what, if any of you are millionaires, you give me $1 million and then I'll fight her. But I'll do more than fight her. I'll take him and get him a passport, and we're leaving, both of us. So guess what? You're going to grow up in the Philippines or Thailand, and you're not going to want to mess around, because you mess around with these guys, they'll thump you. You're going to spend time with Daddy now. You're going to go to international school, and you're going to get your homework done every day because someone will sit on you. You ain't going to run away here. You're not going to run away here because it's not safe. To just say, fight it, that costs big money. Objectively speaking, because she's had him since 2007, after the divorce, judge is going to look at that and go, well, you were in Hong Kong, you were here, there. She can paint that picture very easily. No judge is going to award me that. I'd have to prove that she's incompetent. Okay, so that necessitates in my busy schedule writing every detail down, every single thing, and getting subpoenas and legal action, and you have no idea what you're talking about. People that get involved in court, it's almost like they got to quit everything else in their life just to pursue that. The way Pacific views things is, what can I do that has the most productive, effective good? Let this thing do what it needs to do, and pray to God, and let God, as God has said, we will reap the consequences of what we've done. She's going to reap the consequences. She keeps doing this. One day he's going to blow all over and say, I want my dad, and I want him now. Is he going to forever ignore me? Why would he be so angry at me, as she says, when he could come down here and say, Dad, I'm really mad? I wish I could go to my father and my mother and say, I'm very angry at what you did to me. And I'm very angry that neither one of you has ever taken ownership, responsibility, and apologized for it. They're unapproachable. They're in denial. I cannot. My son did not have that kind of relationship with me, even though I was screwed up by those crazy parents of mine, the ones that adopted me. I did not pass that crap on to my son. I said, if you ever have any issue with me, you talk to me. My door is always open. I've never yelled and screamed at him. Dad, you're fine. Last conversation I had, last August 2013. Took him to lunch at the Asian Dive buffet, and Do you have any issues with me? No, Dad. Mom's the one making these issues. Now, I know he's a teenager, and there's been some lying too. But I have made the door wide open. If you have any issues with me, would you please be man enough to tell you? Yeah, Dad, I would. I don't want you being afraid of me. I'm not. He's using this to his advantage right now because he is getting in trouble. It's an ace card for him to get a free pass from her wrath. I don't have a degree in psychology, but even I can figure that out. She thinks I'm stupid. I'm all over this. And when I talked to everybody else about it, they said, don't respond to her. What she's doing is inflammatory and it's designed to provoke negativity. What was going through her mind when I got to drive a school bus and I got 200 students I account for every day to get safely across town? Does she really think it was Christian and through the spirit and mature and a big girl, a mature girl with a degree in psychology to do this before I get on my bus? Of course she didn't. So back to my original premise. I had an objective third party listen to your voicemails and they think you're crazy. Some of my viewers are going, why are you making this? Because it's part of my video therapy. It's venting. It's hearing what others say. And it's getting it out. The good news is I've called several women on this and told them everything that happened, and all of them said, that woman is freaking nuts. Let me tell you what happened. I thought, come the last day of school, I'm putting that topper on my truck and I'm getting out of here. This is enough of this. And the lady of the house said, if you have a better opportunity somewhere, that's one thing. But if you're running to get away from her, she will run back to your boy and say, yep, he fled and left you, abandoned you. I thought, yeah, of course. Should have known that, right? The lady here has encouraged me, and I'm not going to run. Not yet. When I look at Edith, when I look at some of the gals I dated in Hong Kong, when I look at Indokita, and I didn't date the one across the Atlantic, but when it's finally done on me, there are good women out there. And then you come back to this hellhole called America in Denver, Colorado, and every single woman out there is infected with this pus in this area. Every single one. Dowdy, boring, plain Jane women get behind the wheel of their SUV and they act like bullies. When they get in the store, they've got that look on their face where they're looking down on them. Like, have you looked in the freaking mirror? You're a dog, woman. You look worse than the dog you've got on the leash. I'm sorry, but this is coming out because it is what I think. Do I think I'm better than people? I don't. But I've endured a lifetime of this in this wonderful land of the free, home of the brave, of being put down, laughed at, marginalized, devalued, ignored. And I started finally looking at the people doing this going, who do they think they are? Nosy Balassi. Who are you? And they're not asking themselves that question. Our media, our entertainment culture, our materialistic, insatiable drive for stuff has turned people into selfish monsters. My ex is very selfish. She doesn't care about my safety or the safety of the children. All she wants to do is say, you're a deadbeat. No, I'm not a deadbeat. I haven't failed to pay for anything. We inherited so much money, no child support was assessed against me. One, because I relinquished most of my share of any of that. Said, this ought to cover any child support that I could have paid. The attorney even said, I think that's fair. You're not going to get anything out of them up here in Minnesota anyway, and same in Colorado. I'm sure some people get on here. You don't pay child support? It was never ordered. The case is left open. We inherited $250,000. I walked away with $50,000. I had $58,000 in the bank in 2008 or in 2007 when I left her. That $8,000 was money I personally saved while we were married, long before the inheritance. I considered that fairly mine. She walked away with $200,000, a completely remodeled house and a new car, and my 19-year-old truck that I'm still driving. And only one stick of furniture and a couple things that go back from years of my collecting stuff is all I own. No, a lot of American women are not objective. When I went to Hong Kong, yes, I sinned. And I sinned because I had never experienced women coming up and bumping me on the dance floor, women putting their beautiful brown arms around me and getting close to me and not being afraid. Being around women that never said, how much do you make? What do you drive? Do you have a college degree? And American women and even American men will say, well, of course, to you, to them, you're rich. A lot of the girls I dated over there were not about the money. Several of them said, I wish you would move to the Philippines with me. I don't want to live in America. Many of them said, I've seen what's happened to America and I don't want to go there at all. I had a Filipino friend move over there and she said she was so lonely over there. Yeah, welcome to America, the ghost town country of the world. Where there's movement, there's cars going and traffic going and malls selling things, but it is a ghost town with tumbleweeds flying down the street. And when you divorce a woman in America, American women play victim and make drama and milk it for the rest of their lives. But she goes to church. This couple doesn't. So she doesn't want my son around them at all. She is not even religious, let alone very Christ-like. She doesn't read the Bible at all. I asked my son, has she ever read the Bible to you since I divorced? Not once. Wow, train up a child the way he ought to go. When he's old, he will not depart from it. That's all Daddy's fault. I read the Bible to him. I read him books at night before bedtime. I'm saying this because my viewers need to know, and I felt more bold about going forward with some of this stuff because part of this whole MGTOW movement and all this, many men have experienced the same thing I have. They were good to the women. They tried their best. They were honest about their mistakes, and they got lambasted and crucified by American women. American women are not very nice when it comes to divorce. They use that as a weapon. And they surround themselves with women of like minds. And those women never once stop and ask themselves a question. Are you happy behaving this way? Is your life really showing the peace, grace, and mercy and love of Jesus Christ? Because if it is, you would not be acting like this. No. My ex-wife hasn't grown 1 ounce since I've left. In fact, she's gone backwards even further. Actually, it dawned on me one day, no, this was the way she always was, Pacific. It's just that when you married her, you didn't see it when you were dating her. She's childish. She never matured. And that goes back to something else I've learned about American women. Most American women can't be mature. Look at what they grew up with. Hollywood, Britney Spears, music, rock stars, professional sports, SUVs, materialism. How is all that going to cause a woman to be mature? The definition of maturity is as follows in American culture today. I'm working, I'm independent, I have a car and I have a house. That doesn't make you mature. A monkey can also work at a job and drive a car. I got news for you. Maturity would also include manners, would include being responsible. And I look at most American women, they're immature, insecure, and very childish. If you want to do a simple test, watch the way most American women react when they're provoked. Immediate flashpoint anger, out in your face, emotionalistic, out of controlness. That's a sign of immaturity. Women yelling and screaming at their children. I told you, maturity started setting in when I realized yelling at your kids on the bus is a sign you've lost. You've lost. Being in control of yourself, no matter what those people do on the bus, means you're winning. You have control of yourself, even though they're spinning out of control on your bus. And I've noticed my calmness is having effective results. I hear the comments. He doesn't yell at us like the other drivers. Yeah. It took me years to learn that, viewers. Do women mature faster than men? No. I think men and women in America today, neither one is better than the other. For driving, maturity, relations, they're both in the toilet. Both of them. But I was thinking today, I was going to do this from the garage, but the man of the house was busy out there. I was going to grab a hammer and say, if a hammer had a brain, what would it be thinking? If a hammer went to bed at night and the garage lights were out, oh, I got to get to bed because I got to hit things tomorrow. Can't wait, I got to hit things tomorrow. If the hammer had a brain, the only thing he's going to think about, he's not going to think about driving a race car. He's not going to think about being a saw. He's going to think about being a hammer. When American women grow up in the grid that they're exposed to in this culture, do you really think you're going to get maturity, warmth, passion, manners, even-keeled, well-adjusted females? No. Why would you? When entertainment is the number one sought-after thing in the U.S., and that's the standard for behavior and morals today, that Hollywood can dictate to us that God doesn't exist and that morals, are whatever you choose them to be, how can you get maturity and kindness out of that? When American women are taught now that you don't have to say hi if you don't want to, that's your choice. Oh, it's your choice to be rude. Okay. No, American women are highly immature, highly insecure, and they're puffed up on the fumes of their own hairspray. It's like that girl today selling the coconut juice. Her voice was so fake. Hi, how are you today? Oh, good, good. And I go, boy, you sound like you've been sniffing too much hairspray, baby. American women have been raised according to a grid of what they consider is normal. It's not normal in the sense of how God views it. It's only normal that this is the prevailing culture. It would be considered a cultural norm, not a biblical norm. And when women are raised in this grid, they're going to only think according to that grid. And a guy like Pacific or some of my viewers come along that are different, and the American woman immediately goes, whoa, there's something wrong with that guy. He doesn't like $5 coffee, he doesn't have an SUV, he doesn't have a college degree, and he's talking against females. Yeah, you're going to have problems, viewers. Normal. Pacific, his grid has changed because I got an education in Hong Kong. And I came back with my eyes wide open. And now the only people that I can relate to more than anybody else are people in the U.S. that went overseas and saw what I saw. There are some women on my channel that see what I see, even in regard to the female dynamic. You cannot have a conversation with most American females of the nature of stuff I'm talking about and find that they're going to go, wow, I agree with this guy. They're not going to. In their self-appointed psychologist state, in their I buy things, I drink $5 coffee, I'm normal because I have a job, I'm independent, I don't need a man. They hear somebody like me speak, that is completely opposite of the grid that they've learned. Of course, they're going to categorically, without a second thought, reject, shut out, and censor. When my ex-wife has deceived herself into thinking that her compass always points true north, anything Pacific says, anything Pacific does is always going to be wrong. Even if her compass is busted and it's not pointing north, you can't tell her that because she doesn't believe it. When a woman surrounds herself with friends that are just as I've described, objectivity doesn't exist anymore. The reason I talk about this is it's part of my therapy. It's part of me getting it out and saying what I need to say. It's healing to be able to speak my mind and have people listen. I've had it bottled up in me for years because American women aren't going to listen to me. They're not. I'm not talking about my fans, but I cannot go into my workplace. I cannot go out in the highways and byways of American life and shout this message. They're not going to listen to me. First thing they're going to do is find a clinical diagnosis. There's something wrong with that guy. Do you know that for a fact? Are you a trained professional? No, but listen to what he's saying. No, you listen to what he's saying. Step out of your cultural norm and ask yourself, is this really appropriate? They're incapable of doing that. The liberal media network encourages this kind of mentality. The culture in America encourages this mentality. So if you don't walk in step with that, of course you're going to be laughed at, rejected, and made fun of. Let me tell you what, when Christian women are being smartasses, bitches, rude, attitude, I can get any guy I want. There's nothing even remotely biblical about that. I know there's nothing biblical about the profanity I just used. But they won't admit that about themselves at all. They think they're walking right there with Jesus Christ and that they're closer to the Apostle Paul than I am. I say this stuff because it amazes me the depth of the ego in today's American woman. I can see all the junk on them. They're running around in their panties and bra as far as I'm concerned, and they think they're clothed. And I'm going, no, you're not, honey. Of course women like that are going to hate me and hate my channel and think I'm a cookster. That's a given. Pacific has made observations. Observations don't lie. I listen to people, I watch what happens, and this is what I've noticed. Most of these women are incapable of being objective. They can't do it. Next time that you hear somebody talking about their ex, you men need to ask yourself a question. Are you interested in that woman who's complaining about her ex? Because if you are, you're not going to be real objective. You're going to have a tendency to go, oh, you poor thing. You need to stop yourself and realize you're not hearing his version of the story at all. There have been some bad ex-husbands out there. I'm not one of them. I was man enough to come to her. I didn't cheat on her, and I said, I can't do this anymore. I think most American women are highly immature. I think they bought completely into the world system. I think that they are incapable of picking up the Bible, reading it, and actually feeling convicted by the holy words of God. Something has happened to Christian women where they think that they read the Bible, they go to church, and something has happened in their mind where they think that they're being obedient to God. They don't look at their attitudes. They don't look at the ugliness within. They don't see the real Jesus Christ. They're just caught on some sort of religious buzz trip. And this whole idea that these women are running around looking for a godly man, that's like a little girl standing there saying that some unicorn's going to show up in her backyard. It's never going to happen. One, because the definition of godly man by most American Christian females is not even biblical. What they're looking for is a white knight in shining armor riding down on a big white horse with a powerful, impressive list of credentials. I see it even at the church I go to. They've got to list credentials. Yes, we're proud to announce that one of our students who graduated with at the school next door with 4.0 and is going to this college, and he's preaching today, and he's in the ministry, and he's a good boy, and he's better than everybody, and you're like, wow. So a guy like me hears that and says, yep, I didn't go to Christian school, I didn't graduate, I've been divorced 3 times. No, I don't deserve an award. But why are we doing this? And we're all guilty. And we've got to be careful. We should recognize somebody for their achievements, but when the church is holding that up the way the world does, this guy went to 3 prestigious universities. So what? How is he with people? Is he sincere? Does he care about me? Does he care about anybody? Probably not. His little clique of comfortable, self-righteous friends. I do say things about Christians. I thought it was funny when Gypsy accused me saying, God will use your videos as testimony against you. I don't believe that. God will use things against me where I've sinned with my mouth, yes. But my videos, God knows my heart, and God has given me a burden to speak the truth. And I'm not here to take on God, but I'm definitely here to take on some of his so-called people that are creating huge amounts of damage out there to me and to others. People have left churches over this. People don't go to church anymore because of behavior like this. And a woman across the ocean today wrote me an email saying that she's been hanging out with a Muslim guy. She said, I'm going to see how it goes. And I know he's Muslim, but he's nicer than most of the Christians. Ouch. I have found myself saying if I found a Muslim woman, I don't agree with Islam at all. And I'm not going to change that ever. But if she liked me and fell in love with me and I liked her and fell in love with her, I'd say, well, I guess I just need to pray that God opens her eyes. It's not easy. The Bible says, do not be unequally yoked, and I believe that. But some strange things are happening in the American landscape today. People that aren't raised in evangelical churches, people that live across the ocean, are nicer to me than Christians at church on Sunday morning. One woman who's fallen in love with me just on my channel alone, my open honesty and transparency. Here, you go before a trial if you want to go on a date. And a woman wants to know all your faults and all your dirty secrets so that she can reject you before you even go for coffee. Where is the Jesus Christ in all of that? That's bull. I'm going to say it again. I wonder if Jesus Christ posted a profile. If you're godly, you might get to have eternal life. If you don't like it because I'm holy, then move on. No, God doesn't write a profile. God doesn't do that. He says, it is not his will that any should perish, but all that should come to repentance. Are American women holding a higher standard on us men than God is? Yes. Are American women sinning by doing that? 100%. Does it mean American women should choose a schlub? No, it doesn't. But American women need to get proper definitions of a good guy versus a bad guy, and they need to stop it and come off of their high horse. I'm not just saying this because I can't get a date. I'm not interested in these women anymore. I've lost interest. I still keep my heart open for the possibility. But when I look back at Asia, even though it was sinful, I look back at the women I dated and I go, my gosh, they're horrible over here. The women that I dated over there, most of them were pretty doggone nice and very good looking, no makeup, no implants, no Botox, no physical fitness obsession. They just worked hard. Pacific didn't care about what degree they had or didn't have. It's funny, when Edith and I danced the first time, she threw her arms around me, we slow danced, and we were very close, and I thought, how many American women in today's generation would get that close to a man unless she was a complete sleazy whore the first time? None. Unless she was drunk, unless she was just a cheap loose girl. And no, Edith and I, she wasn't like that, but she trusted, she felt that I was approachable. I'll say it again. I have a mirror that I can hold up to an American woman, and her name's Indokita. And I can even hold up Edith, and I can hold up Myra and some others that I dated over there that would put every American woman I know that thinks they're all that in a bag of chips to shame, because they were truly pretty, they were humble, they were nice people, and they were very loving and sweet on me all the time. Were they perfect? No, nobody is. But I didn't have problems with them. Indokita I haven't dated, but she's been honest about her own flaws and faults. I don't find any American women honest about their flaws and faults. In a generic way, maybe, but not in a personal way. No, American women have been taught to have the drawbridge up, to talk fake, to be fake, to use child-directed speech at us, to be obsessed with materialism, doggies, and Starbucks. Our culture really can be wrapped up and put in a very tiny little box because our culture really isn't that deep. It's very superficial. It's very temporal. I went out to the gardening center to get some cow poo, cow manure, and some Boss compost. And the lady was in, she paid the bill, and then I went out in the yard with her husband's truck to get the front end loader to dump it in there. There's a guy with his new Chevy Diesel Silverado, big deal. And the guy in the loader says, how do you like that truck? And the guy was going on and on and on and on about, I love this truck, it's a long bed, it's a great truck, it's got this kind of an engine. And I thought, I'm guilty. I was cynical inside. I thought, who cares? It's a twat. Americans spend more time talking about stuff and temporal, passing, fleeting things than they do about anything that really matters and has substance. And those same people don't even care about me or anybody else. But God forbid you scratch their truck, or pull the ears of their puppy, or spill their $5 coffee. You think I'm kidding? That's where we are as a culture. And I look at women that had no hesitancy of kissing me, putting their arms around me, loving me, because I treated them like gold too. And I come back to this, and I gotta be told over and over by a bunch of snotty, spoiled brat American women that I'm a piece of trash and I've sinned and I've done this and I don't deserve a date? I don't think so. I don't think so. Told somebody in the break room one day, I said, if I were to go to Hong Kong, I'd have a girl that would want to be my girlfriend within 1 week of landing there. Not anybody I know currently. I'm talking from start to finish meeting somebody. And they said, really? I said, yep. That's what we're up against, viewers. That's what we're up against. And unfortunately, some men are doing the same thing that women are doing. Now they're creating the pendulum swing the other way. Now, don't get me wrong, viewers, hear what I say. Some of them are going to MGTOW to extremes, hating all women, and I'm going, you know what, that's not right either. And I'm finding myself less and less comfortable with MGTOW. The bottom line is we need each other. And when we see a society called American society screaming and yelling, I don't need you, I don't need you, I don't need you, it's only a matter of time before the society implodes on itself. And we're headed there fast. I look at these teenagers I work with, they're lost souls. They have no compass, no direction. Some of them don't even have parents that give 2 cents about them. They're surrounded in a sexually charged, sleazy ghetto culture. And then they go trot off to school and they're supposed to get inspired about learning that the earth is billions of years old and there's no God and nothing really matters, and the kids are learning that. And then we wonder why they're dropping out of school and smoking weed. Because they've been taught it doesn't matter, man. That's why we've got a whole society of lazy people sitting on welfare, lazy people that won't get jobs, lazy people that call in when they get a sniffle. I mean, we are seeing the unhinging of our society. And I'm going to say it again. Most American women are not objective at all. They don't have true maturity. They weren't raised in a truly biblical grid. And let me add something to that. When we talk about a biblical grid, I'm not talking about following a list of religious do's and don'ts or some church culture. I'm talking about being the unique person God made you to be, but yet getting in line with his standard, but yet not getting in line with the peer pressure of a cultural group of people. I feel that in church on Sunday. Boy, I don't fit in. The church is not saying it, but you feel it. They're not showing it because it's not natural to them. They're unable to show that the dividing wall of hostility has been torn down between us and God. Well, that should also be torn down between us and other Christians. Just because I don't wear dowdy clothes and I don't sit there all conservative and don't raise my voice an octave too high, you know what? That's bondage. When Christians don't accept the fact that there are all these different people in the world that don't always think and act just like they do, but that love God and are trying, that's what we need to go after. I think I've said enough on this. I think I've made myself clear. But the answer to the question is, whenever you're dealing with a third party heard your voicemails, she'll never come out and say, if I were to push and say, if she was talking, who was, this is what she'd say, I'm not going to reveal my sources. That's funny. I always did and I always will. Women are good at that. You don't know me. I'm not going to tell you. Hey, let's be transparent. Let's be open. You got all this firepower on your side. Can you tell me who the big guns are backing you up? Pacific does. I've told this person said this person said this. Funny how women won't do that. Because they're trying to convince themselves it's true when they know deep down inside, somewhere under all the BS they told themselves, it really isn't so. I think Pacific said enough. We need to get off this ex-wife. I fell for her bait, I bit into the hook, and I hurt myself. Don't do it again, Pacific. Ex-wives, really have more in common with the devil than they do with the Holy Spirit. This is Pacific signing off. Bye-bye.